I left my family business, moved states, and built a new life around her dreams. But when her secret lover texted me by mistake, I decided to let karma answer instead. Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from? My name is Caleb Wright, and I am 33 years old. I used to believe that love was about sacrifice, about giving everything to make your partner's world brighter. For 5 years, Rachel was my world. I never imagined that one random message could tear everything apart, or that I'd find strength in silence. When Rachel and I got married, I thought we were unstoppable. I sold my share of my father's business to move to her hometown. She said she missed her family, wanted a quieter life. I believed her. I trusted her completely. We bought a small house by the lake, her dream home. I handled every repair, every bill, every sleepless night working late so she could chase her photography career. Our mornings were peaceful. She'd drink coffee by the window while I left early for my new job. She'd kiss me goodbye, whispering that she couldn't wait for me to come home. I never realized those same lips were lying to me every single day. Rachel's world seemed perfect. She'd show me her new clients, her growing portfolio, and I'd feel proud. I was the husband cheering her on from the sidelines, never suspecting that someone else had joined her behind the curtain. Still, there were little things. The long hours out on shoots, the phone she started guarding closely, the way she smiled at messages she never showed me. I told myself I was being paranoid, that every marriage had its quiet spaces. But deep down, a quiet unease started growing. It wasn't loud, it was subtle, like the hum of electricity before lightning strikes. One Friday night, she told me she had an out-of-town photo session. I kissed her goodbye, made dinner for one, and fell asleep waiting for her. The next morning, she said she'd stayed in a hotel because she was too tired to drive back. I believed her. Of course I did. I always did. Weeks passed, and the distance between us widened like cracks in a frozen lake. I kept pushing forward, thinking I could fix it with love, with patience. But fate had already written a different plan for me, because one night, my phone buzzed with a message that wasn't meant for me, and from that moment, nothing would ever be the same again. It was a Tuesday night, quiet, calm, and completely ordinary. I was lying on the couch, scrolling through emails, when my phone buzzed. The message preview caught my eye instantly. "Can't wait to see you again, R. Same place tomorrow." At first, I thought it was spam, but something about it felt too personal. I opened it fully. The number wasn't saved, and the message ended with a little heart emoji. My chest tightened. The R could have been anyone, but my gut already knew the truth. I stared at it for a while, debating whether to reply. Then, curiosity took over. I typed, "Who is this?" The response came quickly. "Don't act shy, Rachel. You know exactly who this is." That was the moment my world stopped. My wife's name, in someone else's mouth, sent a chill straight through me. I felt my throat go dry, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it. I read the message again, just to make sure I wasn't imagining things. I didn't respond. I just sat there, staring at the phone, waiting for logic to make sense of betrayal. Minutes turned to hours. She was out at another photo shoot, and I couldn't shake the thought that this man, whoever he was, knew exactly where she was. When she got home that night, she smelled like rain and someone else's cologne. Her hair was messy, her lipstick faintly smeared. "Long night?" I asked. She smiled, tired, saying, "Yeah, the shoot ran late." Then she kissed my cheek and went to shower. I stared at her bag on the floor. Inside, her camera was there, untouched. No memory cards, no new photos, just her tripod, neatly folded. That night, I barely slept. My mind replayed that text over and over. Who was this man? How long had it been going on? And how could I catch them without letting my anger ruin everything? The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I checked her phone. It was locked with a new passcode. That alone told me enough. I decided to wait. Patience, I told myself, was more powerful than rage. People reveal themselves when they think you're blind. Later that day, the number messaged again. "Last night was incredible. You looked so beautiful, R." This time, I didn't reply at all. I just smiled faintly, realizing something strange. He didn't know he'd been texting the wrong number, and if he could make that mistake once, he might just make it again. I wasn't ready to confront her yet, not until I knew everything. So I decided to stay silent and let the truth walk right into my hands. The next few days felt like living inside a slow-motion nightmare. Rachel acted normal, laughing, cooking, humming around the house, while I quietly pieced together the truth she thought was hidden. Every small habit suddenly meant something new. Every late-night edit session became another question mark. I started observing her without saying a word. She was clever, I'll give her that. She always placed her phone face down, always kept the sound off, but one morning, when she left it charging in the kitchen, I saw something that made my stomach twist. A contact saved simply as A. I didn't open it, not yet. Instead, I memorized the number. Later that night, I compared it to the one that had texted me. It was a perfect match. That was it. No more guessing, no more excuses. For 2 years, I had built this life around her comfort. Every plan, every dream, mine had been replaced by hers. But now, all I could think about was the moment she'd chosen someone else while I was breaking my back to make her happy. The lies became clearer each day. The extra perfume before leaving for work. The way she smiled at her screen when she thought I wasn't looking. The fake frustration she showed when clients canceled at the last minute. It was all a performance. I started saving everything. Messages, screenshots, even timestamps of when those texts came in. I didn't know what I was going to do with it all yet, but one thing was certain. I wasn't going to confront her empty-handed. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching TV, she leaned against me and whispered, "You've been quiet lately. Is everything okay?" I looked at her and smiled. Everything's perfect, because it was. Perfectly fake, perfectly planned. Inside, though, my heart was cracking with every second I stayed silent. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was pretending I didn't know. Pretending that I still saw her the same way. I started remembering small things from the beginning of our relationship. The way she'd once promised she could never lie to someone she loved. I almost laughed thinking about it now. But here's the thing about betrayal. It changes you. It doesn't just break trust. It rewires how you see the world. And in that moment, I decided something important. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to outsmart them both. Because if she wanted to play games, I'd be the one writing the rules now. What would you do if someone you loved betrayed you like this? Comment below. A week later, I woke up to the same sound that had haunted me for days. The buzz of my phone at midnight. I turned it over, half expecting another spam text, but when I saw the number, I froze. It was him again. "Alex, I can't stop thinking about last night. You drive me crazy, R." My jaw tightened. The fool had done it again. He still thought he was messaging her. My hands trembled slightly, but my mind was calm, ice-cold calm. This was the confirmation I needed. The affair wasn't in the past. It was alive, burning, and careless. I stared at the screen for a while, my pulse steadying. Then an idea formed. Dangerous, simple, and perfect. Instead of ignoring the message, I decided to reply. Not as myself, but as her. "Me too," I typed. "Same place tomorrow?" It was short, convincing, and exactly what Rachel would say. Within seconds, his reply came back. "Absolutely. 7 p.m., the cafe near the lake?" That same cafe Rachel once said she hated. I smirked. The lies had even overwritten her own stories. The next day, I watched her closely. She dressed up more carefully than usual. Perfume, lipstick, the red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. "Work dinner," she said casually, avoiding eye contact. I kissed her forehead and smiled. "Have fun." The moment she left, I grabbed my keys and followed, staying far enough to keep out of sight. When she reached the cafe, my hands gripped the steering wheel tight. There he was, Alex, younger, nervous, smiling like he'd won the lottery. Rachel leaned in to hug him, whispering something that made him grin wider. The sight punched the air out of me. My heart didn't shatter. It hardened. They sat, ordered coffee, talked like lovers with no shame. I stayed just long enough to see what I needed, the way she looked at him and the way she used to look at me. But that wasn't what broke me. What broke me was what came next. He handed her a small box. She opened it and smiled. A silver bracelet, the same style as the one she'd lost months ago. I could have walked in right then, screamed, shattered her little fantasy. But that wasn't the kind of justice I wanted anymore. I didn't want her tears. I wanted her silence, the kind that comes when karma takes over. So instead, I quietly took pictures from my car. Clear, undeniable evidence, and I knew exactly what to do next. The man who thought he was clever had just exposed them both, and neither of them realized I'd just started a game they couldn't win. The next morning, Rachel acted like nothing had happened. She hummed while making breakfast, kissed my cheek before leaving for work, and looked me straight in the eyes like her conscience was spotless. I wanted to laugh at how perfectly she could lie, but I didn't. I needed her to keep pretending because my plan had only just begun. I started by finding out more about Alex. The name alone wasn't enough. A few clicks through social media, a few searches later, there he was, 28 years old, a real estate intern, married. My stomach turned. So she wasn't just betraying me. She was helping him betray someone else too. That made things even simpler. 2 liars, 1 plan. That evening, I created a new email account, a name similar to Rachel's photography brand. Then I drafted a simple, polite message to Alex. Hey, it's me. Can we meet again tomorrow? Same time, but let's keep it private. He responded in less than 5 minutes. Of course, R, I'll be there. Perfect. The next day, I went to that cafe early, wearing a cap and sunglasses. When Alex walked in, he looked nervous, but eager. He ordered her favorite drink and sat waiting, glancing at the door every few seconds. That's when I approached him, calm, friendly, confident. Alex, right? I said, extending my hand. He looked startled. Yeah. Do I know you? I smiled faintly. You should. I'm Rachel's husband. He froze. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened, but no words came out. I could see the panic spreading through his eyes like wildfire. Relax, I said, sitting down across from him. I'm not here to fight. I just want the truth. For a moment, he stared at me, trying to gauge if I was serious. Then his shoulders slumped. I didn't mean for it to happen, he mumbled. She said you two were practically done. I raised my hand, cutting him off. You don't have to explain. I already know everything. I leaned closer, lowering my voice. But I need you to do one thing for me. He looked confused. What? Nothing, I said, standing up. Just stay quiet. Karma will handle the rest. Before leaving, I placed my phone on the table and played the voice recording I'd captured of him admitting it. His expression said it all. Fear, regret, and defeat. I walked out without another word. That night, Rachel came home smiling, telling me about her busy day. I nodded, pretending to listen, while every detail of my plan fell neatly into place. I didn't have to expose them right away. I just needed to make sure that when everything unraveled, they wouldn't see it coming. Because betrayal may happen in secret, but revenge deserves an audience. The day of the anniversary dinner arrived like a storm waiting to break. I had invited everyone. Rachel's parents, her best friends, her co-workers, even her younger sister who adored her. She thought I was planning a surprise celebration for our 5th anniversary. And in a way, she was right, just not the kind she expected. She spent the whole afternoon getting ready. The red dress again, the same one she wore when she met him. You're being so secretive, she teased, curling her hair in the mirror. What are you planning, Mr. Romantic? I smiled. You'll see. We arrived at the restaurant, our favorite spot. The staff, already briefed, greeted us with warm smiles. Everyone clapped as she walked in. Rachel beamed, soaking in the attention, the admiration, all the things she lived for. She had no idea the spotlight would soon burn instead of shine. Dinner started smoothly. Toasts were made, laughter filled the room, and Rachel was glowing under the praise. Her father spoke about loyalty and love, her mother about faith and commitment. I stayed silent, watching her bask in lies wrapped as happiness. Then came my turn to speak. I stood up slowly, glass in hand, and smiled at everyone. 5 years of love, growth, and truth, I began. Tonight, I wanted to show everyone how strong trust can be. I nodded toward the screen behind us. The lights dimmed. The first slide appeared, a photo of us smiling at our wedding. The crowd clapped softly. Then came photos from our trips, birthdays, happy memories. And then the tone shifted. The next image was blurry. Rachel and Alex sitting together at the cafe, her hand resting on his. Gasps filled the room. Rachel's face went pale. Caleb? She whispered, her voice trembling. What is that? I didn't answer. The next image showed her laughing, holding the gift box with the silver bracelet. Then a screenshot of Alex's message. You looked beautiful last night, R. The room went dead silent. Her best friend covered her mouth. Her mother shook her head in disbelief. Rachel started shaking. Please, turn it off, she whispered, standing up. This isn't fair. I finally spoke. You said it was work. You said you loved me. But love doesn't lie, Rachel. Doesn't sneak around with someone who can't even spell loyalty. Tears streamed down her face. Caleb, please. But I cut her off, turning to the guests. This dinner wasn't to celebrate our marriage. It was to say goodbye to the illusion of one. With that, I walked out. The murmurs followed me, whispers of shock, pity, and judgment. Behind me, Rachel sobbed, her voice breaking in the silence she'd created herself. Outside, the air felt cold but clean. For the first time in months, I could breathe again. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't cursed or broken anything. I'd simply let the truth speak for me, and it had screamed louder than any revenge ever could. If you were in my place, would you forgive or walk away? Tell me in comments. The morning after the dinner, the silence in our house was heavy, thicker than I'd ever felt before. Rachel didn't come home that night. Her phone stayed off, her toothbrush still sitting by the sink, untouched. For the first time in years, I drank my coffee alone, staring at the empty chair across from me. By noon, The news had already spread. I didn't plan for it to go viral, but betrayal travels fast, especially when the evidence is that clear. Her friends called me, some out of shock, some to gossip. I didn't entertain any of it. I'd said everything that needed to be said in that room last night. When Rachel finally showed up that evening, her eyes were red and swollen. She looked like someone who had aged 10 years overnight. "Caleb," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please, we need to talk." I let her in, but my heart stayed locked. She stood in the living room, her hands shaking. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said. "It wasn't supposed to go that far." I almost laughed. That far? As if betrayal had a distance limit. She tried to explain. The loneliness, the disconnection, the excuses that people use when they've already destroyed the bridge behind them. "You were always busy," she said softly, felt invisible. I looked at her calmly. "You weren't invisible, Rachel. You were ungrateful." Her tears came harder. "I made a mistake. But humiliating me like that was cruel." "Cruel," I said quietly. "Cruel is lying to someone who'd burn the world for you. Cruel is kissing me goodnight while texting another man under the table." She covered her face and sobbed, collapsing onto the couch. For a long time, neither of us said anything. Then finally she whispered, "Is there any way back from this?" I shook my head slowly. "You didn't just break trust, Rachel. You buried it. And I'm not the man who digs up the dead." She left that night, carrying a suitcase and the same silence she once filled our home with. The next day, her social media disappeared. Her job let her go after her coworkers found out. Alex's wife filed for divorce. It was like watching dominoes fall. Slow, unstoppable, inevitable. And me? I didn't chase revenge anymore. I didn't post, didn't boast, didn't call her family. I simply moved on with quiet dignity. Because real karma doesn't scream. It whispers, and it never misses its turn. That night, as I looked at the lake outside our window, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace, the kind that doesn't come from victory, but from release. She had destroyed her own world. I just stopped trying to save her from the fire she lit. Months passed, and the chaos that once filled my life finally faded into quiet. I'd moved into a new apartment downtown, started running again, even picked up my guitar, something I hadn't touched in years. Freedom didn't come overnight. It came slowly, one sunrise at a time, as I learned how to breathe without bitterness. Rachel was gone, completely. No texts, no calls, no apologies that could fix what she'd shattered. At first, I thought I'd miss her, but what I really missed was who I thought she was. That version of her never existed. She'd only played the part until the curtain fell. Then, one morning, my phone buzzed again, an unknown number. I opened it, and my chest tightened when I read the message. "Caleb, it's Alex. I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything." For a moment, I just stared at it. The same number that once sent me proof of betrayal, now asking for forgiveness. The irony wasn't lost on me. I didn't reply right away. I went for a walk instead, through the same park where Rachel and I used to sit, laughing over coffee and planning futures that would never come. When I finally replied, my words were simple. "You already did." Because the truth was, they'd both punished themselves far better than I ever could. Alex had lost his wife, his job, and his reputation. Rachel's friends had cut her off. Her career had stalled, and everywhere she went, people whispered. Their affair had started as a secret, but now it followed them like a shadow they couldn't outrun. A few weeks later, I saw Rachel again by accident. She was sitting alone outside a small diner, thinner, tired, wearing the same bracelet he'd given her, the one from that night at the cafe. When she saw me, her eyes widened with shock, then softened with regret. "Caleb," she said quietly, "you look good." I nodded. "Thanks. You look different." She looked down, twisting the bracelet nervously. "I know I don't deserve to ask this, but do you ever think about us?" I smiled faintly. I used to, but not anymore. There was no anger left in my voice, just peace. The kind that comes when you realize that revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's just living better, while they're left behind with the echoes of their own choices. As I walked away, I heard her call my name, but I didn't turn back. That chapter was over, completely and finally. Now, when my phone buzzes, I don't flinch. I don't wonder who it is or what lie might follow. I just smile because I know the truth. The moment I stopped seeking revenge, karma took over. And when karma replies, it never needs to send a second message. This is how my wife betrayed me. Should I forgive or move on? Tell me in comments. If this story reminded you that silence is the strongest revenge, like, share, and subscribe for more stories that turn heartbreak into strength.